welcome to Countdown to Laravel Live. I'm Mathias Hansen, your host, and today I'm chatting with TJ Miller, who is going to speak at Laravel Live in Denmark here in August in Copenhagen. TJ, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
So TJ, I'd love to hear more about how you got into computers and technology. What's your earliest memories of programming and stuff?
Yeah, so I got started real early on. I was super fortunate. My dad worked for a tech company. He worked for Xerox, and I got to go with him to the office and see all these crazy printers. I mean, I remember being 10, 11, 12 years old and getting to see this 3D printer for the first time ever. And it was the size of a small car. So just getting exposed to really cool stuff like that early on. But because he worked for the company, we always had pretty decent computers from the get-go. We had internet very, very early on. And so I think around 9, 10, 11, I was definitely getting heavy into video games. So it was Cosmic Osmo, Enter the Mist, Lemmings, just sitting there playing on the computer. But then we got internet. And that's when GeoCities and Angelfire were hot. Napster came on the scene, LimeWire. I was just bit by all of that stuff, and just it fascinated me how everything worked. And so I started reverse engineering geocoding, websites and from everywhere, and just started hacking on them. I'd copy and paste the HTML and just get them rendered in the browser, and just started messing with stuff, seeing what it would do. And I was blown away by all the possibilities. And then MySpace came on the scene, and customizing MySpace pages was the thing to do. And I got really into it, and just being able to hack on them, see what you could create. And that was my very first paid gig, was customizing MySpace pages for local bands.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I just the world of possibilities was just it got me and hooked me, and I've been just messing with code ever since then.
So TJ, we of course work together. It's no secret. So I know you're a huge NeoVim user, big fan, right? But what was your earliest memory of the editor you're using for HTML? Do you recall?
Definitely Notepad was very early days. Yeah, I went from Notepad to Notepad++ and used that for quite a while. I can't remember what other... I used, of course, Dreamweaver a little bit, but I always just loved the freedom of a text editor rather than a full IDE. But even though now my Vim is basically full IDE.
Yeah.
I like something about the simplicity of it I really like.
Well, it's highly configurable, right? You've customized it to smithereens, basically.
Yep. Yeah, I got I got an old laptop from my grandmother at one point, and there was something wrong with it, and I ended up firing up DOS and starting to mess with that, and that was my first taste of the command line. And I just thought that was so cool that I could I would just pretend I was hacking listing directories and navigating around, but that got me bit by the command line, and that's somewhere the space I always played in. So yeah, that kind of led me towards Vim and NeoVim and tmux and all that sort of tool chain when I got into Linux.
Yeah. So did you work on Linux first? Was that your first computer? Was that Linux, or was it Windows, or what was it?
My first computer was a Mac. And then was Windows for a number of years, but I always inherited other people's computers, so I was always getting old computers, and you could never, everything was always so slow. And so then I discovered Linux, and I could run Linux on these lower powered machines and still get a little bit of extra performance out of them by doing so. And so that I discovered Ubuntu and Mint and all the Linux flavors, and I ran Linux for, I think 3 or 4 years in my early teens, just like hacking on it, customizing it. It's the same reason I love Vim and NeoVim. Like you can do whatever you want to it.
Yeah.
So
do you have a favorite window manager? I remember messing with Linux as a desktop computer around that time as well, and I couldn't quite figure out like the best setup for like the GUI essentially.
Man, I'm so far departed from running Linux at anything other than servers right now. That,
right.
Like,
yeah.
I don't even know, because I can't remember the last time I used a Windows manager, like a window manager on Linux, because I'm just server administration. You know?
Been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So you were talking about playing video games on one of the first computers you had access to.
Yeah.
Did you ever work on like playing around with building video games or like prototyping video games?
I've played a little bit with it. It was never, I don't know, that never really bit my attention at all. So I've not explored too far into video games. My son, however, is like super like fixated on wanting to learn how to code so he can make video games. So I have a feeling this summer I'm going to be learning a little bit of game development.
Speaking of your son, you were mentioning at Xerox this huge 3D printer. Taking what was it? Did you say a size of the car?
It was like the size of a small car. Yeah, this thing was huge.
That's wild. I know you recently got into 3D printing as well, or I guess maybe you were into it before, but you got a new 3D printer, right?
Yeah, we got one for Christmas for my son and myself, and it has pretty much been running, I think, nonstop since we got it. In high school, I took years of drafting in AutoCAD. Like, I think I probably took like 4 years of drafting in AutoCAD. So I've been having a blast like designing and making our own things here too. You know, not just the prints that we can find online, but like actually designing things. Like our French press top broke, and so I just printed a new one. Designed and printed a new one, and it worked great. So I love it.
That's awesome. So since you did all the CAD classes, were you planning to become a mechanical engineer, or what was your plan back then?
Back then, it was still to go into web development, and my drafting teacher absolutely could not. He was so confused. He could like absolutely not figure it out, because he's like, you just took all these years of like drafting and CAD, and like you're pretty good at it, but like you want to go do this like web development thing? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So at the same time, I was also taking the high school offered like a intro into web development course, and I ended up like sort of co-teaching it with my instructor, because at the time, like, I knew more than him because I had been playing with it for years at that point. So I ended up almost like kind of assistant teaching with him, like the class, and did that for 2 years, and was just like super obsessed with it. And that was about the time, like my senior year in high school is when I discovered PHP. So this is like 05, 06. And that was mind-blowing, because before it was just JavaScript and HTML and CSS. But now with PHP, it was like the world opened up to like databases and dynamic content loading and templates. And that was like a whole new burst of inspiration into the scene for me.
So, do you remember one of the very first things you built with PHP? Like one of your first PHP projects?
Yeah, it was actually for a like local sports center. They had a whole bunch of activities, and they had a in-house bar and everything too. And so the very first PHP project was that, doing like dynamic templating, so that we'd have like a consistent sidebar and like a static header, and then like the content area would swap out as you like popped through links, and that was all like PHP based. But that was the very first thing I did, and it was mostly templating. But yeah, that was my very first taste of PHP. And then not too long after that was like getting into like WordPress and like custom frameworks from there.
I know you've also used Laravel for a long time, right?
Yeah, I got into Laravel late Laravel 3. So I've been using Laravel for like about 10 years now.
I wonder what happened around that time, because I've spoken to a bunch of people already, and it's very common that people start using Laravel right around then. I think 2012, 2013, I think.
Yeah.
Just before, or in the early beginning of Laravel 4. I guess that was a big turning point for Laravel at that time.
Yeah, I think it started gaining popularity right around that time too, and that's like I had been doing a lot of WordPress development at the time, and the place that I had worked at, their senior developer left, and I kind of just like slotted into that spot. So I was now getting into like application development, and we had made like heavy use of Cake PHP at the time, and it was a fine framework, but I didn't really align with the way that they were using the framework. So I was like dead set on let's find something else. Almost jumped ship from PHP to Ruby at that point in time. But I was looking at, it came down to like two framework choices. It was between like Falcon PHP and Laravel. And like Falcon seemed pretty cool because that actually is like like a PHP extension. And I was like, oh wow, that's like, I bet we could like do some really cool stuff with that. But as I started seeing what Laravel was doing with 3, and Taylor at the time was starting to like talk about what was coming up in 4, I didn't even realize you could like write PHP that way. And that's what really like sold Laravel to me. Was I'm like, wow, this is like beautiful. Like it just aligned so much with the way that I thought about coding and the way that I thought about building applications that I was sold, and have been using Laravel ever since.
I remember I met you first at Laracon in, I would say, 16 or 17, when you were I think you were speaking in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
On API development or API design?
That was, I think, 2018. Yep.
18. Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, 2016 was my first Laracon in Louisville. And then, 2018 I spoke in Chicago.
I might have met you in Louisville. It's been a while, but maybe I popped into you there as well.
Yeah, I know it was like Sandy Matt spoke, Evan Yu spoke, Matt Machuga I think spoke. That was my first ever like tech code conference, and boy was that like one hell of a entry point.
I think Laracon was in Louisville twice actually, and those two Laracons, maybe it's just because it's nostalgic at this point, but that was like my favorite Laracons. I felt like it was like a perfect size, and the venue was awesome. Louisville was really fun too.
Yep. I really enjoyed the Louisville spot. New York, the second New York has like a special place for me too. And then Chicago was a really cool experience. Being at the museum was so neat.
Yeah, so this was at the Science Museum in Chicago, and the actual museum was the venue, and that's the after party was in the grand foyer, right, with like all the exhibits around. It was, remember the big train, and it was insane. Yeah,
it was so cool.
Cool, and you have a busy year for speaking this year. Of course, you're going to Laravel Live Denmark, but you're also speaking at Laracon US. You just spoke at and gave a workshop at PHP Tech in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I'm missing something. You're also doing... No? I thought you're doing one more thing.
Nope, that's it this year. Yeah,
that's it for now.
Yeah, that's it for this year. Did tech. I've got Laracon coming up, and then Laravel Live, and then I was thinking about submitting to Longhorn, but it's been a busy. It's going to be a busy year, so probably skipping that one this year.
Yeah, it's also a bit further, a bit far as well. It's a bit of a travel day too to go to Texas, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I want to jump to talking a bit about your talk.
Yeah.
At Laravel Live. So you are going to talk about Prism, right?
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna talk Prism. And really, kind of my goals for the talk are to showcase Prism and really kind of like introduce it to a lot of people that maybe don't know about it. And I want to walk through kind of showing the power of Prism and the flexibility of the different things you can do by showing off a few different workflows. So we'll go through a couple different AI workflows and how we implement those with Prism, and that'll kind of give everyone a taste of the different capabilities and like different affordances that you get with using Prism.
So for those listening who have not used Prism yet, do you want to give a quick elevator pitch for what Prism is and does?
Yeah, so Prism is like a unified interface for working with multiple large language model providers. So we do allow like for affordances for like very provider specific pieces of functionality, but overall the main goal is to be able to interact between different providers in like a really clean and easy API. So depending on how you can build with Prism, you could easily swap between Anthropic or OpenAI or Ollama, and your integration is going to stay relatively the same.
So I really love that driver-based approach, which is also like such a Laravel philosophy, especially when things are moving so fast in the LLM space. New models are coming out, pricing changes all the time. So being able to quite easily switch between providers, or even using a local LLM, which is super, super cool that you can actually do that with Prism. I think that's extremely powerful. Then, of course, if you haven't seen it, the actual way you interface with Prism and the developer experience is absolutely sick. It's so easy to get the ball rolling with Prism and build some really powerful stuff.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was the whole experience has really been about like trying to provide the cleanest developer experience possible. The whole thing started from like a documentation driven approach of I sat down, designed how I wanted to interact with Prism, and then kind of took that as a template and started implementing all the functionality to that API. So it was very much like dreamed up as a developer experience, and then we've just gone back and like fulfilled those contracts.
Yeah, that's awesome. It clearly shows too, from developer experience point of view, that was sort of like where it started. That's really cool.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, we do everything from text generation. We do streaming for providers that offer streaming. We do structured output. And then we're going to be getting into like audio here pretty soon, image generation. We'll be doing all of that stuff.
Really looking forward to hearing more at Laravel Live. It's going to be really really awesome to hear more and get more details and see some stuff live. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it too.
So when I ask everybody this, is there anything you would like to see or do or eat while in Copenhagen?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely interested in like getting on a canal tour and getting to like go around. And I'm definitely a bit of a food junkie, so I'm gonna be trying as much as I can there, like unique stuff. But yeah, I'm a former competitive cyclist, so I'm definitely gonna be trying to find a bike to ride around a bit. And just kind of like see some sights, but I'm planning on taking adding it like a full day onto the end so I can just go explore and have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, biking is obviously a perfect thing to do in Copenhagen. You have to be careful with the locals though, because they're they can go pretty crazy on the bike lanes.
yeah, that's what I've heard. So it'll be fun. I'm also a bit of a museum junkie, so I'm sure I'll find a museum or two to pop my head into and go explore around.
Yeah, for sure. So one fun thing to do to canals. I love the canal tours as well, and when people visit, I always recommend doing that. It's really nice, especially on a nice sunny day. But one thing you can do now too is you can actually rent your own boat and sail around the canals. And when I first heard this, I was like, this should be illegal. I can't believe you're allowed to do this. Like, no license or anything, right?
Yeah.
But the canals are pretty chill. The boats are very slow. It's like small electric boats. So it's kind of like those duck boats at a theme park.
Yeah.
But it's a bigger area and you don't have to pedal. So it could be fun too, finding a few people and going on a small self-guided canal tour as well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I figured too. Like, I'm pretty go with the flow person, so I figure, meeting up with people there and kind of see like what groups are up to and maybe tag along with some other events and yeah, pretty open.
So you said you're a bit of a food junkie. I can definitely relate to that. Any particular cuisines you're really excited, in general, really enjoy?
I haven't had a chance to do too much hunting, but for us around here, like we just try to go out and like find places for things that we can't make at home. So like we're always in searching for like the unique stuff, the different things. So I don't have anything in particular, but I'm interested in like going around and sampling as much as I can.
That sounds amazing.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you have something you'd recommend making sure I try out there food wise?
So Denmark isn't really known as a place with a lot of, world cuisine. That's just to be honest. But actually, where the venue for the conference is, it's on a small island connected to Copenhagen, and it's known for its big. It's a big food market out there with like food trucks. So it's actually one of the best places to try a bunch of different cuisine because you can just walk from truck to truck, and every truck has a different, Indian food. You can get Chinese food. You can get, I'm sure we can find a Korean barbecue truck for you as well.
Yes, let's do that.
All kinds of stuff, but it's awesome. So every single meal you can, try a different cuisine, and I really enjoy that. The paradox of choice of having, all these options.
Oh, that's perfect. I'll be able to sample a whole bunch of stuff. That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, exactly. So I really, really enjoy that. Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to chat for a bit. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
That was TJ Miller sharing insights about text editors, 3D printing, and of course Prism. You can catch his full presentation at Laravel Live Denmark, August 21st and 22nd in Copenhagen. And if you haven't grabbed your tickets yet, head over to laravellive.dk before the prices go up on July 1st. Thanks for tuning in to Countdown to Laravel Live Denmark. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our speaker interviews leading up to the conference. Until next time, keep coding.